Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to talk about Facebook changing its name to Meta, the Metaverse, and what all that means for Facebook advertisers at this very, very early stage. Now, before I get into it, I just want to very quickly ask you to smash that like button, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new and haven't done so already. I'll make sure you stay up to date with all Facebook advertising or Meta advertising, whatever it's going to be called, related stuff going forward. So obviously, this is a really big announcement in the Facebook advertising world, and advertisers that are advertising, their own businesses, working for a company, or people involved in the Facebook ads agency side of things, like I am, are all sort of trying to think, what does this mean? And there's not a huge amount that we know at this stage. A lot of it will play out, but there's some interesting things. So firstly, the name change, okay? Facebook becoming Meta. I think that makes a lot of sense. Facebook needed a sort of a different name to encompass the suite of platforms that they have available. Whenever I refer to Facebook advertising, I mean Instagram advertising as well, or at least, I used to. And that can be quite confusing, particularly people who aren't involved in the industry. They'd be like, oh, do you do Instagram as well? And I kind of say, oh yeah, no, like it's all one thing. Whereas if in a few years' time, instead of using the word Facebook advertising, we say we're a Meta advertising agency, which might well be true, people may better understand that that covers both Facebook and Instagram, potentially WhatsApp in the future and things like that. So I think the name change makes a lot of sense. I think for the time being, it's not going to be referred to as Meta advertising. That may well come in. It's still going to be called Facebook advertising. That's going to take some time to come through. So I'm not sort of updating our website. Instead of a Facebook ads agency, we're not going to be a Meta ads agency, not for a while at least. But I think that's a good thing. That makes sense. It's also, if I think about it potentially a little bit cynically, Facebook changing their name might be a bit of a publicity related thing, bit of a PR point, because we know that Facebook have been receiving pretty negative press for the last few years. Lots of things coming out around privacy issues, around algorithms and all that sort of stuff. So a name change, I think, from their point of view makes a lot of sense. So that's the first part of it. The next part is the metaverse and what Facebook want, or I should say Meta now, what Meta want their main thing to become. And what does that mean for advertisers? Well, obviously, it's all speculation at this point. I think that what Facebook Meta, the terminology is going to get confusing. What the previous Facebook company are looking to achieve, and they've talked about targets like getting 1 billion users and creating this sort of completely virtual world in which people are doing things in the metaverse as opposed to in real life, or sort of what they'll start is with replacing the digital aspects of regular life. They want that to occur in the metaverse. I think they're going to find it much harder to get people to adopt that and start using it from a user standpoint than they think. I think that's going to be more difficult. It's going to take more time. I think there's going to be quite a lot of resistance. People are going to struggle with it. We know that companies that have forayed into trying to do 3D glass related stuff and any sort of augmented reality, virtual reality, they've come up against some hurdles around adoption. They found it quite difficult. So can Facebook make this happen? Of course they can. Or should I say, can Meta make this happen? Of course they can. They have an almost unlimited war chest with which to operate. But is it going to happen overnight? It might not even happen at all. I would not be at all surprised to be creating a video in 4 or 5 years' time being like, do you remember the metaverse and how that all disappeared? I would also not be surprised if it becomes a regular part of most people's lives. It could completely go, and then anything in between. But I do think it's going to take time. It's not like we're all going to be using this and living our lives through it in 18 months' time. I absolutely don't think that's the case. I think it's going to take longer than that. What this means for advertisers at the moment is basically nothing. There may well be significant opportunities to advertise within the metaverse going forward. In Facebook's publications and communication around the metaverse and what they're looking to do, they have talked quite a bit. Well, no, they've actually only mentioned it. Well, they talked quite a bit about all what's going to include and made a few small references to ads. Now, I absolutely think that's how they're going to monetize this. That's how they're going to operate this from a business standpoint. They just didn't want to overly emphasize that fact, but they mentioned it in there, and there's no way it's going to be a small side part for them. It's how they're going to make money from this. So I think that there is likely, if this takes off, to be significant opportunity for Facebook advertisers to be the first ones to jump on this. And what we might see at the beginning, because this happens with a lot of advertising platforms, is that impressions and reach is really cheap right at the beginning. So it might be something you really want to jump on as advertising within the metaverse starts to take off and become a thing. Change creates opportunity. There's lots of people in my industry that are worried about this. They have ways of doing things that work now. They don't particularly want it to change too much, although Facebook advertising itself has changed an enormous amount over the last few years, continues to change, and change creates opportunity. Yes, it can be difficult to adapt, but if you're one of the ones that can adapt and is on the front of that process, it creates competitive advantage. Because if things always just stayed the same, well, everyone would kind of figure out best practices, they would implement best practices, and everyone would just kind of get the results that are there to be had. There would be no competitive advantage from being like, oh, I figured out a new way to make this work under the new circumstances. So whether you're involved in the agency setup or you just advertise products and services yourself, change creates the opportunity for competitive advantage. Because if you can work out how to get good results with the new system, the new setup, faster than other people, that's competitive advantage. And competitive advantage is super important with any advertising, wanting to be able to scale, all that sort of stuff. So I'm kind of looking at this at the moment as a positive either way. There's kind of two ways this is likely to go with the metaverse. It's either going to become this big significant thing that Facebook, now Meta, hope it is, in which case there's going to be an enormous amount of opportunity that I'm very much going to want my agency to jump on and evolve with how this is changing. Or it won't really become a thing, in which case we can stick to what we're doing right now, which is working really well on Facebook ads and Instagram ads and maybe in the future WhatsApp ads as well. So I think it's mainly positive for the rest of the industry. We have been getting bad press. Well, Facebook's been getting bad press. And, you know, those of us that have businesses that are related to Facebook, that's not beneficial. So this is, on the whole, a good thing. Can be a little bit scary, can be a little bit uncertain, but I think it's likely to be positive. In which way it goes, I'm not convinced. Like, it's not one of those things where they launch and you go, yeah, that's going to be huge. Maybe not. I think it's a big bet that they can absolutely afford to take. They have huge funds to be able to make this work, and we will see. Definitely interesting and exciting times. Okay, a couple of things I want to mention before you go. The first is my free Facebook group. So I've got a Facebook group called the Facebook Ads Mastermind Group. It's currently got 132,000 members, one of the biggest communities, absolute biggest in the world of Facebook advertisers. And if you want to connect with other Facebook advertisers, now maybe Meta advertisers, ask your questions, get them answered, save yourself a bunch of time, great place to be. So go ahead and join, completely free. I'm in the group every day. Links in the video description below. Other thing I want to mention is YouTube channel membership. So you can now become a member of my YouTube channel, and members get priority replies to comments. So if you're leaving comments on my YouTube videos, I just cannot get to them all. There's too many. I do read them all, but I just can't respond to them all. So I'm prioritizing replying to people who are members who leave comments. So it's a small monthly fee to become a member, help support the channel, help me create more content, and I will prioritize answering your comments, which I know can be super important if Facebook, Instagram advertising is important to your business. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment below to let me know, and subscribe to the channel, of course. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.